Hello everybody and welcome to the second round of the 2023 GP4 Offline Championship. We are here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache in Interlagos, Sao Paulo for the running of the Brazilian Grand Prix. I'm JW97 and I'm joined today by my arch nemesis Ra.
Yeah, hello everybody, and let's see what will happen in practice and also qualifying.
There you go. So anyway, we've got no rain expected for this practice session, so we're about to get underway for this. And well, we come into this weekend with this week, coming off the back of what was a very, very exciting United States Grand Prix at its new home at Road America. And it's safe to say, from the general consensus of that race, a lot of people are saying that Road America deserves a place on the GP4 OC calendar in the future, because my oh my, Ra, what a race it was.
Yeah, what a race it was. A race of nutrition, to be honest, and yeah, it pretty much had everything being thrown at us, and yeah, everyone was very competitive, and yeah, it looks to be we'll pretty much have an exciting season coming up.
Yeah, indeed. For some reason, my Discord is saying I haven't got a microphone on for some odd reason, but there we go. So that's that, really. So Kirishima DeRosa is the first car to make his way out onto the racetrack now, then for McLaren, as he now makes his way in towards the double left-hander now. Then he goes, as of course McLaren, coming off the back of a very incredible race in the United States, coming away with 20 points on the board, a 4th position for Joseph Willows and a 6th position for Kirishima DeRosa. And well, what a start to the season McLaren had after coming off the back of a very disappointing 2022 season.
Yeah, it's a great turnaround for McLaren after what happened last season, and yeah, they look to be very strong.
Yeah, indeed, and we're hoping to continue that momentum here at Interlagos. Of course, it is the first time since 2021 we are here at Interlagos. We weren't here last season, but this season we are here, this time for round 2 of the championship instead of the finale. So it might be a little bit strange to some people, but this was how it was in the past. So yeah, that's pretty much that, really, as DeRosa just starting a lap there in the McLaren. Now, we know that Road America last time out was an overtake fest, and well, it's safe to say, Rob, we're probably expecting the same here at Interlagos, judging from past races.
Yeah, I'm pretty much expecting the same thing, and yeah, let's see what the race will fall now. And this time we are using the medium tires, so the first time this season we're seeing the medium tires. So let's see what the pace will be like the medium tires and what strategy, and let's see what everyone else can do. And of course, every strategy does matter for the medium tires, so really depends on pace wise.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, the first three during the preseason testing and also during the United States Grand Prix, we were so used to the hard tyre, but now we've got a different compound being used, the medium tyres, and yeah, as you said, it should be quite interesting indeed. So, obviously, to talk a little bit more about the United States Grand Prix, one team that will be desperate to move away from the United States Grand Prix is Mercedes, because, oh boy, what a terrible weekend did Mercedes have, of course. After a front row lockout on the grid with both Carr and Perinen, well, the race just turned out to be a complete disaster for them for many reasons.
Yeah, car was looking great, and he was leading the race as well. So with a good gap to George Road. So it was a shame they lost his front wing from debris. So and also he got caught up by the collision with Sontag. So which made his race even more worse. And of course he got an electrical problem there. I think it was an electrical brake problem he had. But he had a mechanical problem at the end as well, which cost him any chance of points.
Yeah, indeed, and well, it was a bit of a disappointing weekend for Mercedes, really. Obviously, Perinin having his mechanical problems and Carr having so many issues, so much so that they come into this race with no points on the board and are currently sitting 10th in the Constructors' Championship. And, well, their rivals seemingly having a better start to the season, including, from the looks of it, Haas had probably, well, safe to say Haas, a great start to them indeed, because they picked up the first victory of 2023, thanks to Laura Chung, really. And for the first time out, we do have a female leading the Drivers' Championship in the top class, so history was made last time out. But yeah, an amazing drive from Laura Chung, and an amazing way to start her time at Haas. As I think Ra might have disappeared because I cannot hear him for some reason. I think he might have disconnected. I think because I think he's got a little bit of a connection issue. But yeah, I think because I did hear that he was cutting out a little bit. There was Ra. So yeah, that's that really. As Sazonov just making his way around turn number 3 as we ride on board. So hopefully we'll get Ra back in just a little bit. But even though it was a good start, are you back now, Ra?
Yeah, now hopefully it's better.
Yeah, okay, I was just saying, of course, whilst Mercedes didn't have the greatest start to the season, Haas, on the other hand, did. And Laura Chung, starting the season off, well, in her first ever race for Haas, she ends up getting a victory for them. And, well, as a result, we see Haas leading the Constructors' Championship for the first ever time.
Yeah, Ben, before the season started, everyone expected Haas to be there with Red Bull and Mercedes, and yeah, they did it straight away in round 1.
And whilst it was a good race for Laura Chung, same couldn't be said for her teammate Bartosz Kloss, who we're currently riding on board with right now in the Haas. As, well, it looked like it could have been a double points finish for Haas, but unfortunately, due to Hayes' Perlin's mechanical problem, Kloss ended up catching some debris as a result, and as a result, ended up scoring no points. Not exactly the start that he was hoping for.
Yeah, definitely not the start he was hoping for. Hopefully there's a turnaround there. He did do well in qualifying, but the race wasn't there. It wasn't his day, and yeah, he didn't really have the pace, but he was looking good for good results.
Yeah, indeed, and it looked like it could have been an even bigger lead in the Constructors for Haas, but unfortunately it's only Laura Chung's points that have given them the Constructors' Championship lead. We'll talk about Red Bull next, a second place finish for George Roken, and it was nearly a victory for him in the first race of the season, but on the other side of the garage, it was a race to forget really for Evan Byrne, and not the way he wanted to start his 2023 campaign.
Yeah, got knocked down Q2, made his own mistake, which cost him a chance of Q3, and yeah, he had an early spin as well during the race, so wasn't ideal, and he pretty much had no pace. He was running in 20th at one point, which is not ideal for a Red Bull. And as we know, the Red Bull is so draggy, he has the most drag of any other car this season. So, which is not ideal for tracks like Road America and even Interlagos. So, we could expect them to struggle, but looking at the leaderboard, they are 1 and 2. So maybe they have sorted out with a low drag setup.
Yeah, indeed, as we ride on board with Kirishima DeRosa, just making a little bit of an error going into the young cow corner there. But yeah, it should be it will be interesting to see if Evan can bounce back this week here at Brazil. And of course, Red Bull will be looking to see if they could actually pick up a victory here at Brazil as well. Of course, good memories for them from the last time we came here in 2021. It was where Franco Gamba wrapped up his one and only championship here in 2021. It was also where Red Bull won their constructors title in 2021 as well. But obviously, given it's round 2, that's not going to happen this time. Of course, it's a little bit way too early for that. It must be said. But yeah, they have got some good memories there, and they'll be looking to do a good job. And at the moment, they're currently running 1-2 so far in this session. The Mercedes is currently 5th and 7th at the moment, a team that are desperate to fight back, of course. But yeah, that's that. We might as well talk about the home hero. In fact, there's 2 home heroes in this race. We've got Joantas Martins and Gabriel Gomez. We'll start off with Joantas Martins because an amazing start to his time at Renault, of course, because despite the fact that he had a mechanical problem in qualifying, he bounced back and got his first ever podium in the top class, really. And, well, definitely looking strong for his new team, is Joantas Martins.
Yeah, and could he win possibly in Brazil? Maybe. That would be amazing to see if he wins. But yeah, first of all, the podium is great, good step up for him, and hopefully he can be as consistent and get more podiums like what his opponent did back in 2021.
Indeed, and well, Martins will be hoping that he can build on what he had at Road America, because it was an amazing start to the season for the Brazilian. As his meanwhile, his teammate Quag is just overtaking Joseph Willows at the first corner at the moment. The McLaren's currently down in 18th and 19th at the moment, so far not showing the pace that they had during Road America. Although So we'll have to wait and see if they're holding something back when we get into the qualifying session a little bit later on. As a bit of a reminder for anybody who didn't see how the new format for the streaming works, of course, the practice and qualifying will be on one stream this time rather than two separate streams. If you missed that over at Road America, so after this practice session comes to a close, there'll be a little pause before we get over to the qualifying session to determine the grid for tomorrow's Brazilian Grand Prix. So don't go anywhere after this practice session because it'll be extremely pointless if you did that. But anyway, as Laura Chung makes her way through turn 3. Might as well mention as well, because I mentioned it yesterday on Discord, because you may have noticed that last week, of course, I didn't upload a pole lap video. That is because, well, I took feedback from last season, really, because a lot of people didn't see the point of the pole laps anymore. So I've decided I'm not going to do the pole laps from this season onwards. So I think the pole lap, I think just showing them off on the on this practice and qualifying stream, I think does enough for it. I don't think it warrants a separate video. So yeah, took feedback on board, and I'm not going to upload pole laps anymore. So just thought I'd mention that in case anybody was a little bit perplexed or confused as to why I didn't upload a pole lap last week for Armagh Car. That's your reason. So anyway, as we just saw George Root there getting held up by one of the Toyotas there. But we might as well talk about Toyota, in fact, because, well, it was a decent start to their return to the top class, it must be said, for Toyota. They did get 1 point with the other home favourite here today, Gabriel Gomez, and, well, it didn't start off the best. It didn't get off to the best of starts, it must be said, for Franco Lopez, because he got held up. But in the end, he was right up there with his teammate, and he only just missed out on points. But I would say, overall, not a bad start to the season, although I do think a lot of people were expecting maybe a tiny bit more from them. As I think Ra might have disappeared again, because I cannot hear him again. I think he might have disconnected once again. Oh, he's muted. I wish he'd tell me. I wish he would tell me in the Discord chat, because I don't like it when he disappears. But anyway, Roki's currently up, but it's not going to matter anyway, because he's coming back into the pit at the end of this lap. So he's now going to peel to the left-hand side now, then, as George Roke makes his way into pit lane, and he's currently just under 2/10 behind, 2/10 ahead of Evan Byrne. Here is Chris Chatfield, currently in ninth. So far, the Ferrari's 9th and 10th for the moment, and they're another team that want to forget about what happened last time, like with Mercedes, because although it looked very promising for Andre Verderi after the first stint of pit stops, and after the first round of pit stops, it was looking like Verderi could get some points for Ferrari in the end, but in the end, it ended up being a double retirement for the Tifosi, and as a result, they're ending up not being classified at the moment in the Constructors' Championship, which, to be fair, if Verderi did get points last time out at Road America, it's safe to say that it would have exceeded everybody's expectations, because during pre-season testing, the team looked absolutely nowhere during that.
Yeah, and of course he did well in qualifying, and he was on a two-stop strategy. I mean, he was going to be on the compromise strategy, but his pace was pretty good on that two-stop. And at one point, he was saying a fastest lap for the fastest laps, and also was in second place for a brief moment. So yeah, it showed for he does have pace, but whether it can be there consistently with both cars, I don't know. I mean, we saw with Chris Chatfield, he was running in last until he got a transmission failure. The reliability might be the Achilles heel, but yeah, it looks to be a long season for Ferrari. They just have to pick up some small points there and abouts.
Yeah, indeed, and well, maybe reliability, as you said, could be a question mark for them after the first race of the season. It's definitely one of those races that they'll want to forget about pretty quickly, it must be said. But going back to the topic of Toyota before you had to mute yourself there, Ra, they obviously scored 1 point on their return to the top class with the other home favourite here, Gabriel Gomez, and Franco Lopez, of course, just missing out on points himself in the end. But I think it's safe to say, looking at what we saw from pre-season testing, I think everyone was expecting maybe just a tiny bit more from them. But I think overall, I think they'll be satisfied that they got a point in the first race of the season.
Yeah, they should be satisfied with that. The pace wasn't there, but I think getting the point is what really matters, and they got it, and they can hope they can build up from this.
Yeah, indeed, and there's a big traffic jam forming here. Looks like cars getting held up here by Rahul Patel, who's just had a lock-up going through into the right-hander there, so just overcooking the brakes a little bit there, as Patel now making his way into the hairpin. And it's safe to say Patel didn't get off to the best of starts last time out because, well, he was running, safe to say, quite decently to start off with, was minding his, just having his own race, really, and then all of a sudden he ended up with a mechanical problem, and then later on ended up losing his front wing from the whole crash with Michael Mocho early during that race, and well, somehow in the end he ended up finishing 12th. So in the end he was able to recover, but yeah, a bit of a frustrating start for Rahul Patel, considering that last season he obviously got off to a frustrating start as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should be satisfied with this. I think, of course, he would have expected a bit better from this. He could have probably gotten points, but of course, he did two unscheduled stops from that race, so it was kind of worth it to get 12th place from that. So I think he should be satisfied with what he got and move on and see what the rest of the season can bring to him.
Yep, we'll have to wait and see, of course. Sauber, although they had an upward trend, of course, as you may have seen from the 2020 free sign-up video, it doesn't really seem to have affected them too much, really, because they still seem to be sort of where they were last season, really. And, well, so far, the team yet to score a point after the first race. 8 out of the 11 teams scored points last time out at the United States Grand Prix, so only 3 teams need to score points in the remaining, well, 20 races left in this championship, really. And, well, it's safe to say some of the teams that were also happy about last time out. Well, we'll get onto them we'll get onto them in a minute. Were of course Williams and Aston Martin, of course. Aston Martin, we'll talk about. A lot of people were expecting them to be the worst team on the grid, but here they were at the United States Grand Prix, and Jose Federic Suto, in his first ever race in the top class, picks up points with 7th place. His pace in that race looked pretty good.
Yeah, his pace in that race looked pretty good. And of course, he was also on a two-stop like with Federi as well. So yeah, he made that two-stop work for him, and he ended up getting points in the Aston Martin. I mean, of course, everyone did expect Aston Martin to be the slowest, but not that slow compared to Ferrari and everyone else. So they're there, and straight away they get points in the first race in the opening round of the season.
Yep, and in terms of Williams, Julius Anderson on his return picking up points by finishing ninth, but it's safe to say, Ra, it should have been a lot more because Felix Sontag was having, safe to say, a much better race than what Julius Anderson was having. Not saying that Julius had a poor race, he also had a good race, but it's safe to say Felix had a much better race than him and was looking good to get some really serious points, but unfortunately he got taken out by Amar Kar as he was trying to charge his way through the field after losing his front wing from that Michael Mocho crash. And I think Ra's gone silent again. Never mind.
I think a top 6 finish was there for. Yeah, a top 6 finish was there for Sontag, but it wasn't to be. I mean, he did defend a bit aggressively on Armour Car, but yeah, nothing he could have done. And yeah, he got to move on. He'd be satisfied with what happened, even though it happened very badly on his end, but yeah, it could have gone better for him.
Yeah, indeed. I think you're lagging quite a bit, Ra, because Yuri's even pointed it out in the little chat that we're in. But yeah, it should have been a lot more for Williams. Sontag, of course, getting taken out in the end there. Of course, it was deemed a racing incident during that, so there were no penalties that were dished out. But even so, frustration for Felix Sontag, as it could have been a lot of points at the US Grand Prix. It could have even been a double points finish for Williams. And another debutant who was also pretty happy about the United States Grand Prix was Jafari Blackwood. Despite the fact that he qualified way down the order, he made a great recovery through the field and ended up finishing 5th for Lamborghini in the end. So overall, a pretty good day for some of the rookies at the United States Grand Prix, including Jafari Blackwood, who came from, I think it was 19th to 5th in the end.
Yeah, good race for him and for the rookies. And yeah, great job from Jafari Blackwood getting 5th place. And let's see what he can do for the rest of the season.
Yeah, indeed. And, well, we'll have to see if he can keep this up, of course. But, of course, a very encouraging start for Jafari Blackwood in his time in the top class, of course, and in his in his debut season, really, and looking to build on that here at Interlagos, of course, as Gabriel Gomez, one of the home favourites, getting the slipstream off one of the Lamborghinis front. Whoa, that was close there between Suto and the Sauber there. I'm not sure which Sauber that was. He nearly collided. That was Rahul Patel. He nearly collided with there. And very lucky he didn't, as Andrei Sazonov is just about to start to lap himself. Currently the only driver at the moment who's over 2 seconds off of George Roke's pace at this stage. Lopez currently 13th at the moment. His teammate Gomez is down in 16th. So far, not looking too quick at the moment are the Toyotas, but maybe they're holding something back when we get to qualifying. And one thing that Lopez will want to forget about, of course, from last time out of the US Grand Prix was during qualifying, where it seemed like a bit of an amateurish error there. There seemed to be a bit of an amateurish error there from Toyota during qualifying, because Lopez kind of went back into the pit, was at a bit of an angle, and the team struggled to get him back into the garage. Eventually, he did get into the garage and was able to do one more lap, but it just wasn't enough in the end to get him through into Q number 2, and which is why he ended up starting down in 20th for his first race at Toyota. So he'll be hoping he can get out of Q1 this time by, and hopefully he and his teammate will be hoping to see if they can maybe get at least one car into Q3 if they can. So that will be something to look at as well, as Ra will be muted for a little bit. So anyway, we're just under 10 minutes to go. This is what the lead board currently looks like then. It is George Roke currently at the top with Evan Byrne in second, and now Sazonov has gone under 2 seconds behind Roke, but it's George Roke at the top with Evan Byrne in second. Jesus Perinin is in third with Laura Chung in fourth. Bartosz Kloss is in fifth with Michael Mocho in sixth. Roman Quagg is in seventh with Amar Kar 8th. Chris Chatfield in ninth, followed by his teammate Andre Vaderi in 10th. Then it's Jafari Blackwood in 11th with Bence Valdingo in 12th. Franco Lopez is in 13th with Joantas Martins down in 14th at the moment with Julius Anderson 15th. Gabriel Gomez is in 16th with Joseph Willow 17th. Felix Sontag in 18th. Kirishima De Rosa is in 19th with Jose Frederic Suto in 20th. Then it is Rahul Patel in 21st and Andrei Sazonov in 22nd and last at the moment, as we have just under 9 minutes to go in this session. Of course, anybody who needs a reminder, of course, for the races that don't involve the silly season, so the first 9 races of the season, so from last week at Road America to the Red Bull Ring, the practice sessions will be 30 minutes long, but from Silverstone to the last race of the season at Abu Dhabi, it will be 40 minutes long, and that's due to the fact that because it's a silly season, there'll be a lot more to talk about, really, as Chatfield goes purple in the first sector, although I do believe that was because he got a little bit of a slipstream there from Kirishima De Rosa's McLaren as he just overtook him in towards the left-hander, and proving even more as well that from last week at Road America, of course, that even though the Ferrari has possibly not got a great car this season, their engine power is still pretty good. We saw it in the back of the Haas last time out, and even with the Ferrari as well, that even though they don't have the best chassis or aerodynamic package, which is holding the team back, the Ferrari has still got some very good straight line speed. Ross?
Yeah, they got some good straight line speed.
I think Ferrari's lagging quite a lot there. I think he's...
Yeah, let's see what they can do.
Connection seems to be pretty bad at the moment, I think. Yeah, I think Ra's got some connection issues there because he seems to be lacking quite a lot. So, yeah, that's pretty much that, really. So, I think Ra needs to try and sort out his connection a little bit. Chatfield, meanwhile, is currently in ninth. He was actually up on his personal best in Sector 1, but as I was talking about earlier, there was proof there that his purple first sector was not legitimate because he obviously got some slipstream from the McLaren because he ended up losing time in the last 2 sectors there. And so now coming down towards the left-hander, here is Jose Frederic Suto, who's going to be having a bit of an error going through into the young cow corner there. Valdinga, meanwhile, improves but remains in 12th position. He's only 15 thousandths behind the Lamborghini of Jafari Blackwood, meanwhile, as Ra, I think, is just going to switch to his phone because it seems like his connection issues have gotten worse since he's on the computer. As now Suto makes his way down towards the first few turns on the racetrack, as we have just under 6 3/4 minutes to go in the session. Quagg, Anderson, and Gomez are currently in the pit lane as we speak at the moment, and there'll be one that I think may go out on track towards the end. We'll have to wait and see on that one, really. Now then, as Suto just making his way the hill now then, as we now ride on board with Armar Car, who's coming back into the pits. Currently 8th at the moment is Armar Car, so maybe holding something back at this stage. But we mentioned it earlier on, with like with Road America, I do expect quite a lot of overtaking around here, because there are two quite decent long straights around here, the pit straight and the back straight leading towards turn 4, where we could see quite a lot of overtaking. If you've seen in the past, the opening laps of the race, it's just overtake City every lap. So I do expect the same here at Sao Paulo, like we saw at Road America last week as well. So might end up with two very exciting races. I have to see. Blackwood, meanwhile, goes up into 8th position in the Lamborghini. He's now just over a 10th now behind his teammate Michael Mocho, who's currently in 6th. Mocho, of course, wanted to forget what happened last time at the United States Grand Prix, because, of course, if you may remember, he obviously crashed out of that Grand Prix coming around the carousel and ended up getting no points as a result. So Mocho will want to move away from that as best as possible. And Carr now down into 9th as a result of Blackwood moving up into 8th position. As Kloss, meanwhile, goes up into 3rd place, meanwhile, in the Haas. He's now just 2/10 away from George Roke's Red Bull. So Kloss now then just coming around turn number 3 on the racetrack, as he will now make his way down towards turn 4 very soon. And is he going to be up on his personal best in the first sector? He is. In fact, he's purple in the first sector, but not by a lot. We are noticing, I think, even in the first sectors, that that it seems to be that people are, obviously there's only really one major braking zone at sector 1, that's turn 1. The rest of it is all flat out, really, so you can't really judge too much with sector 1, really. I think Ra is now back with us, judging from what I just heard in my ears there. Are you there now, Ra?
Yeah, I'm back. Hopefully it's better.
Yeah, it doesn't sound laggy this time, so it does sound a little bit better as a result of that. So anyway, as Kloss, meanwhile, is still purple in the middle sector, but as you can see, he's not up on his personal best at this stage. So that suggests to me that Roke's middle sector wasn't exactly strong when he set that 1 minute 7.131 a little bit earlier on in the session. And there's quite a lot of cars now in the pit lane. So we're just over 4 minutes to go now then. This is what the leaderboard looks like. Roke at the top with Byrne in 2nd, Kloss in 3rd with Perrin in 4th, then it is Chung in 5th, Mocho is currently in 6th with Quag in 7th, Blackwood in 8th, then it is Carr in 9th, Chatfield is in 10th with Videri 11th, Valdinger in 12th with Lopez in 13th, Martins 14th, then it is Anderson 15th, Gomez 16th, Willow 17th with Sontag 18th, De Rosa is in 19th with Suto in 20th, Patel in 21st, and Sazonov in 22nd and last. The whole pack currently separated at the moment by 1.9 seconds. But yeah, that's pretty much that, really, as now Kloss making his way around the left-hander now. Then he goes, as Blackwood further improves but remains in 8th position. So far, Martin's currently down in 14th. I don't know if he's struggling a little bit here, Ra, or maybe he's just holding back some pace for quality. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it could be he's holding some pace back for qualifying, or could be down to the setup ain't right for him in practice. Maybe they could turn around in qualifying.
Yeah, indeed, and that's pretty much that, really. As now we now look at Michael Mocho, who's just coming around the left-hander, making his way towards the hairpin. As now we've got two cars now in the pit lane, Chung and Willows. As Mocho currently getting held up here by the Aston of, I think that's Andrei Sazonov in front. But Mocho now then just making his way up the hill towards the final 2 corners on the racetrack. Might get some healthy bit of slipstream here from the Aston as a result. He's just about to start a lap, in fact, as Mocho, I think he's probably going to go past him before he starts that lap, which he will do indeed. But Mocho not able to improve despite that at this stage. As now we make our way through into turns 2 and 3 now then on the racetrack. In fact, Sazonov could actually re-overtake him here into turn 4, so this could actually ruin Mocho's lap as a result of this. So we'll wait and see if he's able to re-overtake him into turn 4, and he will do in fact. So yeah, this is what I talked about, of course. Maybe something similar with Road America here, when we've seen with people just constantly overtaking each other and just swapping around at certain points in the race. We just saw Lopez go up into 7th place, meanwhile, the reigning champion, currently up in P7 as we speak now then. As I think we're now going to ride on board with the drivers for the rest of the session now then. As now we ride on board with Patel, who's just coming around the final corner and onto the pit straight now then we will go, and Patel does not improve. An improvement for Carr, though, who's gone up into 4th place using a bit of slipstream there for Julius Anderson there. Jesus Perrin across the line, goes into 2nd, actually splits the two Red Bull's there. Videri across the line, no improvement for him. Sontag, no improvement. Same with the Red Bull there that's just about to overtake him into the first corner. Mocho re-overtakes Sazonov meanwhile, and no improvement for either of them as a result. Valdinger goes into 14th meanwhile in the Sauber. Berner, no improvement. He stays in third position. Johannes Martins is not on an improvement at the moment. He is actually on the same time, in fact, as Chris Chatfield at the moment. Both of them setting exactly the same time, but no improvement for Martins at this stage. Lopez, no improvement. Same for Quag meanwhile. De Rosa, no improvement. As now we look at Bartosz Kloss now then in the Haas, who's just making his way down the straight as he now comes across the line, and Kloss does not improve. Here comes Rahul Patel, and now making his way through into Young Cow. Now then we go, as now he will make his way down towards the pit straight now. Then I expect him to do one more lap unless he gets the pit indicator on the top. Looks like Carr's also trying to get some slipstream off him down towards the first corner. Patel doesn't improve, and nor does Cars. He's just about to overtake him into the first corner. Gomez, no improvement. He stays in, where is he, in 16th. No improvement for Perrin and Eva. Here comes Andre Videri, who had a pretty good race, of course, before his mechanical problem at Road America. No improvement for him. Same for Roke, and same for Sontag. Here comes Andrei Sazonov now then in the Aston Martin. 10 seconds left as he gets re-overtaken again by Mocho. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and 0, and the checker flag is out. That's the end of the session. I think Evan Byrne was the last car to cross the line there, and yep, that was that. So that's Byrne's the last one to cross the line. Lopez, no improvement, stays in 8th. No improvement there for Roman Quag, I believe that was. De Rosa, no improvement. Bartosz Kloss is heading back into the pits. So we now ride on board with Armar Carr, determined to put the disappointment of Road America behind him as he now goes flat through the left-hander and now making his way in towards Young Cow now then. Through the left-hander we go as he now make the way up the hill towards the second to last corner now. Then we go as now he makes his way onto the pit straight and across the line. We will go, goes Armar Carr. He's now going to come across the line and no improvement for him. Patel across the line, no improvement for the Sauber. Willow's just getting some mileage. Gomez, no improvement. Perrin doesn't improve, stays in second place. Here's the man who's currently at the top at the moment and probably will stay at the top for the remainder of the session, unless I've just jinxed it there. But Roke does not improve. For Dairy, no improvement there either. Sontag's now back in the pit. Same with Michael Mocho. Here comes Andrei Sazonov in the Aston Martin as he's being now overtaken by Bence Valdinger as Byrne comes in, and that is the session done with Roke at the top, Perrin in second and Byrne in third. So far the Red Bulls looking pretty strong at the moment, Ra.
Yeah, looks like Red Bull are strong, but we'll see once we get into qualifying with the low fuel, and let's see what they can do there.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we're just going to take a brief pause while Jimmy sorts everything out for qualifying. But in the meantime, guys, let us know your prediction on who you believe will be eliminated in the first part of qualifying. But in the meantime, I'm just going to mute myself to prepare the tweet for Twitter. So apologies if I go silent for just a little bit. So stick around. The qualifying session is coming up in a little bit. Okay, I'm back and got the tweet prepared for Twitter. But anyway, should be an interesting qualifying session. Red Bull looked pretty strong during practice there. 1-3 for both Roke and Byrne there. But whether they can replicate that in qualifying or not, we'll have to wait and see, of course. And, well, of course, we saw, last week at Road America that the Mercedes were holding something back for Q3, and they ended up, as a result, locking out the front row with Armar taking the pole over Hayes' Perrinin. So, yeah, that's pretty much that, really. That's that, really. So hopefully we'll be in for quite an interesting session. Maybe it could be a battle between Mercedes, Red Bull, and even Haas. Maybe even Renault as well. We'll just have to wait and see, really. So, yeah, either way, I think slipstream's going to be quite a big thing around here, because we did see it around in practice, of course, that drivers like Armar were using it to gain a bit of time, and that could be the difference, really, when we get into Q3.
Yeah, I think best part to get slipstream will be the main straight, and also then, and of course, going from turn 3 to turn 4.
Indeed, and well, we'll have to see if that's still going to be the case, and we'll have to see if that becomes a benefactor to any of the drivers in the field, of course, as we just wait now for Yuri to get everything sorted out for qualifying, of course, because he obviously has to switch the mistake rate, and so just waiting to go, really. So just bear with, guys, and we'll get qualifying underway in just a moment. But either way, should be interesting, of course. Again, guys, let us know your prediction on who you believe will be eliminated in the first part of qualifying. It's going to be quite interesting, I think, because it could be quite close considering the circuit that we are at this week here at Interlagos. And so just yeah, it should be quite an interesting one, I think. And well, who knows really what could happen? If anything, for some of the drivers, of course, they'll be hoping that they don't end up having the same sort of errors that we saw last time out. I'm talking about what happened in Q2, of course, with the 2 Renaults and, of course, Evan Byrne, of course. And for Byrne, that obviously cost him a spot in Q3 thanks to that mistake he made into the final corner. And even the in terms of the Renaults, you saw Quad, of course, at the exact same corner where Evan Byrne went off. He obviously crashed out, and we obviously had Juventus Martins having his suspension failure. But anyway, we're about to get underway. There is going to be cloud cover for qualifying, but there is no rain expected at all. So without any further ado, let us get on with Q1. And I'll ask you there, Ra, who do you believe will be eliminated in the first part of qualifying?
I'm going to say both Aston Martins, a Toyota, a Sauber, a Ferrari, and I'm going to go bold and say one McLaren.
Okay, I'm going to say both Aston Martins as well, but I'm also going to say both McLarens because they didn't look that quick during practice. I think both of them could get eliminated. I think we'll also see a Williams drop out as well, and I think a Sauber will get eliminated as well. That's my predictions as we're about to get underway for qualifying, and you may have noticed that Yuri, as promised last week, has sorted out some of the pit mechanics because it looks like Toyota have now got the right colours rather than just Prost colours that they had last week. But Gabriel Gomez, one of the home favourites, is about to make his way out onto the track first of all, and we might as well read your guys' predictions in the stream chat then. So James Brickles has said both Aston Martins, both Saubers, a Ferrari and a Williams. Dennis has said both Ferraris, both Aston Martins, one Sauber and one Toyota. And Jafari Blackwood has said both Astons, both Williamses and both Saubers. That's his prediction there, as Gabriel Gomez now is about to make his way up towards the double right-hander. And he'll be hoping, because it is quite a short track, of course, he will be hoping he doesn't get any traffic by the time he makes his way back around the circuit. As now he makes his way down through the hill, now then through into the left-hander. He will go on the racetrack as he now makes his way into the hairpin now. Then he goes as he flicks the car in through the right-hander and now down towards the flat-out left-hander. He will go now then as he will now make his way in towards the Uncal corner. Magula, of course, is the previous corner we just went through there, as now heading in towards the final 2 corners, and Gomez is about to start his first flying lap of qualifying. There are 17 cars out on track, so there are still a few more cars you can see on the mini-map that still need to make their way out on the racetrack. Gomez will be hoping he doesn't get caught up by any of it as he now makes his way in towards the first corner now, then through into the centre S's now, then we go. Then into turn 2, you can see there was an Aston coming out the pit lane there, as I think Gomez is going to get in front of that Aston, and I think he's just got enough of a gap to not get held up, or is he? Because the Aston is coming out right in front of him, but he might get some slipstream in this first sector, but I think for the rest of the lap, Gomez is going to get held up here by the Aston Martin of, I'm actually not sure which Aston it is, to be honest with you, because both are now out on track. All 22 cars are now out onto the racetrack now then. A 17.070 for Gomez in the first sector, but a 16.779 for fellow compatriot Martins, a 16.976 for Sontag, a 16 point, I think that says 809 for Chung there, I think it says, or 909, I can't really wait. Oh, Gomez has a bit of an, it's got a yellow flag out that part, and it's Sontag who's gone for a spin down the hill there, and, well, looks like a driver error here for the Williams driver.
Yep, driver for him, just getting so much oversteer, and yeah, luckily he doesn't put it in the wall, but he can carry on, but he needs to bring it in safely. But his lap is unrepresentative, so it's not ideal, so he'll be at the back.
Yeah, indeed, he's still trying to make his way back onto the track at the moment, as he's still waiting for a gap in the traffic, as you can see. But now here comes Gabriel Gomez. He will get some slipstream, a tad bit of slipstream from the Aston in front, as he crosses the line to do a 1 minute 7.762. Here comes Michael Mocho in the Lamborghini. He now crosses the line and goes quicker by 4 tenths of a second. Joseph Willows across the line, and he goes quicker by 2 tenths of a second. Chung to the top by 3 tenths. Martins goes into second, 35 thousandths off of Laura Chung. Here comes Bent Valdinga in the Sauber now then, and he goes into 5th position. Armar Carr across the line, he goes into 3rd. Chris Chatfield now then, he's going to come down the straight and he goes into 6th position. Andre Videri goes into 9th. Roman Quar goes into 5th. Made that 6th because Rope goes to the top by 2 tenths of a second. Kloss goes into 5th. Here comes Andrei Sazonov now then in the Aston Martin. He goes into 12th. Kirishima DeRosa comes across the line now then, and he goes, well, into 13th. I think Lopez may have had a bit to play in that, as Sontag, I don't know if he's actually got himself stuck or not, but he's still not got out of the of that area yet, as Blackwood goes into 10th. Anderson, his teammate, meanwhile, is coming down onto the pit straight, and Julius Anderson will now come across the line himself in the Williams, and he goes into 13th. Evan Byrne across the line, he goes quickest by a tenth, so he beats his teammate to the top. Here comes Jesus Perrin across the line, he goes quickest by 2 tenths of a second there. Joseph Frederick Suiters, I think Sontag has got going again, and he goes into 14th, and yes, he has, here he is, but his lap is unrepresentative. yeah, indeed, and well, let's see how far behind he is thanks to that mistake, as well, he's going to be over a minute behind. He crossed the line, and yeah, 81 seconds of the pace there, but yeah, Sontag is going to have to go out again because he's currently down in last position. But at the moment, it is Perinen at the top, and maybe Mercedes were holding something back in practice.
Yep, they definitely were. Car done in 67 tenths off his teammate, which is not ideal, but it is only Q1. There is time to improve, time to get close, but to his teammate. But of course, let's see what he can do. There could be more improvements to come, especially for Felix Sontag.
Indeed, and well, he'll be hoping that the next lap is better, because if he can't get a better lap, he will be out in Q1. Of course, he should expect obviously to get better. I'll be surprised if he makes another mistake on his second flying lap, but you never know. Of course, anything could happen, and it usually does. His teammate is just in the cusp of the top 16 threshold at the moment. So currently in the drop zone, we have Valdinga, Gomez, De Rosa, Sazonov, Videri, and Sontag. So at the moment, the Ferrari is not able to replicate the pace that we saw in practice at the moment. Chatfield in 15th, but currently Videri in the drop zone at the moment for Ferrari.
Yeah, it could go better for Ferrari. Let's see. Gomez was kind of held up by the Aston Martin, which wasn't ideal. So maybe he can find some time to improve. But hopefully he doesn't get held up again, because he's coming out on track first once again.
He comes out onto the track this time, hoping he doesn't get held up by any traffic, and he'll want to try and beat the traffic this time by. As Gomez, you could argue that may have been the reason why he's in the drop zone, because his teammate Franco Lopez currently up in 8th place in the other Toyota, as he's determined to put the disappointment of Road America qualifying behind him, when he got a little bit impeded in the pit lane thanks to his little excursion, it must be said, which kind of prevented him from having a better. When he did come out, it kind of put him off really, and he ended up starting in 20th for the United States Grand Prix. But at the moment, he looks like he will be safely through into Q2. Whether his teammate can get through in his home race or not, we'll have to wait and see, as Gomez now makes his way into the hairpin now then he goes, as he goes down the hill for the Magulo corner now then, and now heading his way into Young Cow, as now he will prepare to start his next flying lap, hopefully for his sake that there's no traffic this time by when he starts his lap, as he comes around the penultimate corner and now making his way down the pit straight, and Gabriel Gomez is about to start his next flying lap as he makes his way down towards the centre S. There are some cars still emerging from the pit lane, and I do fear that Gomez could get held up again here in a little bit. We shall see as he rounds turn 2 and around turn 3 now then. He will go. I'm just trying to have a look on the mini-map, and I think, in fact, he might just be able to get away with it. Yes, there's a bit of a gap to that Mercedes, but I think he's just timed it perfectly as he's up on his personal best in the first sector by 0.2 of a second there. As he goes around turn 5 now, then he goes up the hill, heading towards this long, swooping right-hander he goes. As around the long, swooping right-hander goes the Brazilian now, then heading his way into the hairpin. Of course, you can easily understeer at that part of the track that Gomez just passed there and easily spin off. We did see yesterday in Formula 2 qualifying that Rubino Gonzalez, who's also a Toyota driver, it must be said, he is the official Toyota reserve driver, actually crash out at that part of the track, which is why he's starting on the back for the Formula 2 race a little bit later on. 0.8 up on his personal best, so a lot better now that he's got some clear air, although the Haas is close behind him, and I wonder if that the Haas that's behind Gomez could actually get impeded by Gomez. I'm not sure, but it's not going to interfere in Gomez's lap whatsoever. Let's see, can he get out of the drop zone? He should in theory do, but let's see, across the line, and he goes into 4th. That's a good time there from Gabriel Gomez in the Toyota, so maybe some time to find, and it's Kloss that's behind Gomez, because currently Chong is actually down on her personal best in the middle sector now then, and she's now going to come across the line now then, and she doesn't improve, only by 49 thousandths of a second. Johannes Martins, no improvement for him, he stays in 6th position. Chris Chatfield, who's currently just in the cusp of the top 16 threshold, improves but stays in 16th position. Actually found some time in the last sector. No improvement for Willows, he stays in 10th. Roman Quark across the line, he goes into 4th position, an improvement for the Renault driver. Kirishima De Rosa is up on his personal best, but he's 1.2 seconds down on Jesus Perinin in the middle sector, so I don't think this is going to be enough to get him out of the drop zone as a result, but let's see. Kirishima De Rosa, across the line he will go, and he goes into 18th. He's only really gained I think 2 places out of that as a result, or 1 place, I can't remember. Marcho, meanwhile, up on his personal best, and he's currently in 14th place behind his teammate. He crosses the line and goes up into 11th position. Evan Byrne, down on his personal best, currently in 2nd place at the moment, behind Jesus Perinin, as Byrne now then comes across the line. No improvement. Armar Carr across the line, goes into 2nd, so at the moment it's a Mercedes 1-2, as Kloss improves to go into 6th position. Videri improves and pushes his teammate down into the drop zone. As a result, Valdinger improves, but he's still into the drop zone. Anderson goes up into 12th position, pushes Suto down into the drop zone at this stage. Franco Lopez is down on his personal best, currently in 10th position, is the 3-time world champion. Lopez across the line, and he does not improve, stays in 10th for the moment. Sazonov currently up on his personal best. Meanwhile, I've noted that Sontag is still in the pit lane, because of course he was a little bit later to come back out back into the pits, of course, because of what happened, but Sazonov improves, but only into 20th position. In fact, pushes De Rosa onto the back row as a result. Suto, no improvement. He stays in the drop zone down in 17th position at this stage. But yeah, Sontag is still in the pit lane as we speak, because obviously he came into the pits a little bit later, and of course he decided to abort. He decided to stay in the garage that time by, because of course one car usually gets left behind on the second run, so in theory Sontag should be back out on the track next time by. But yeah, a lot of improvements that time by, and this time in the drop zone we have Suto, Chatfield, Valdinger, Sazonov, De Rosa and Sontag. So at the moment De Rosa clearly struggling to get his McLaren through into Q2 at the moment.
Yeah, that is not ideal for him. He's got the car to get to Q2, but that is not ideal. But he can find a lot of time. Let's see what can happen. Varniger done in 19th. That's not ideal. But yeah, there's a lot of time to find for him.
Indeed, as Gomez is going to be getting ready to go out again. Whether he'll go out first, though, I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Sontag beats him to the punch this time by, as now the Toyota mechanics are getting ready, as are the Williams mechanics, who are getting ready to send Sontag out, just as his teammate Julius Anderson is back in the pits. And I think Sontag is going to beat him to the punch here, and he won't, in fact, because, well, he's having to wait for Lopez to go by, because Lopez kind of blocked his path there. So maybe some tactics going on there at Toyota to ensure that Gomez gets out on the track before Sontag does there. So I don't think Felix is going to take too kindly there to Toyota on that occasion. But Gomez on track now. Sontag does get out onto the track, but he's come out right in front of Laura Chong, who at the moment is currently in 8th position. So 6th and 8th so far for the two Haas drivers, and not exactly where they want to be at the moment. They want to be fighting with Mercedes and Red Bull at this stage, but we'll wait and see if they're able to try and find a little bit more time on that, as Gomez now making his way down through this left-hander, as also on track is Joantas Martins in the Renault now then, and Gomez will be hoping once again there will be no traffic this time by, with just over 6 minutes to go in this session now then, as he makes his way down towards the Young Cow corner now then, flicks the car in through the left-hander now then, up the hill he goes. And Gomez now making his way through the penultimate corner now then he goes, as he'll now make his way onto the pit straight, and Gomez about to start his third flying lap in this qualifying session. The home crowd will definitely be cheering him on as he now makes his way in towards the first few turns on the racetrack, through turn 1, then into turn 2, and then around turn 3 will go the Toyota driver. As looking on the left, there's no traffic for him to be interfering with him, so Gomez has a clear track in front, and he's actually down on his personal best in the first sector, and 1/10 down on Perelin in sector 1. Only a few hundredths down there in sector 1 compared to his personal best, as he now goes up the hill through into the double right-hander, where we saw Ravino Gonzalez have his crash in Formula 2 yesterday. As he now rounds the hairpin now then, heading in towards the corner where, of course, Sontag had his little mistake earlier on in this session now then. Heading into the hairpin, obviously this is the more twiddly bit of the track, the rest of it is just flat out straights really, as now Gomez approaches the end of the second sector now then, and he's still down on his personal best by a tenth through the Young Cow corner now then, up the hill before approaching the final two turns on this amazing racetrack now then, as Gomez down the pit straight and across the line will go the Brazilian driver. He makes his way across the line and he does not improve. He stays in 7th position. As we now look at Laura Chung, who is getting held up here by Julius Anderson, in fact. So, in fact, it was Anderson that was in front of Chung and not Sontag. Although I did see Sontag's helmet. Here he is, and he does improve, but he's still in last position. I wonder if he had a lot of traffic on that occasion. Martins improves to go into 7th place, gets in front of his fellow compatriot Gabriel Gomez, as now we look at Chris Chatfield in the Ferrari, who's up on his personal best, and he's currently in the drop zone at the moment, is Chris Chatfield, and he's 4 tenths up in the middle sector, so I think he could get out of the drop zone, but it would mean pushing his teammate into the drop zone. As a result, here comes Chris Chatfield now then, as he makes his way back onto the pit straight, and across the line will go Chris Chatfield in the Ferrari as he comes onto the pit straight across the line, and he goes into 11th position, pushing Verderi into the drop zone. Roke across the line, he stays in 4th position. Carr, no improvement, he stays in 2nd place. Roman Quarg, across the line he goes, stays in 5th. As we now, Gomez is coming back in, as Verderi is way off in the middle sector at the moment, and he's currently in the drop zone at the moment, is Andre Verderi, as he now makes his way onto the pit straight now then, and Andre Verderi is now going to cross the line, and he does not improve. He stays where he is for the moment and still in the drop zone. Mocho doesn't improve, he stays in 12th. Willows across the line, stays in 15th. Valdinger goes into 11th, pushes Blackwood now into the drop zone. Anderson doesn't improve meanwhile, as Suto now then just making his way onto the straight to start a lap. Perinen now then across the line, he goes in the Mercedes, no improvement, way off his personal best, stays on 1 minute 6.144. Evan Byrne across the line, he will go in the Red Bull, no improvement for him. Blackwood is actually down on his personal best, and he's currently in the drop zone, he's Blackwood, and no improvement, he stays in 17th position. Kloss meanwhile is up on his personal best in the Haas, and he now makes his way onto the pit straight, and across the line he will go, and he goes into 2nd place. He actually splits the two Mercedes drivers there. Here comes Kirishima De Rosa in the McLaren, and he's still in the drop zone at the moment. Is De Rosa, he crosses the line, but he's still not able to improve. He's still down in 21st, and I think that could be it for him due to how much time there is left on the clock. Here comes Franco Lopez, who now makes his way onto the pit straight now. Then he goes Lopez across the line, and he stays in 10th position. Andrei Sazonov, who's currently in 20th, he's now going to cross the line, stays in 20th for the moment now then. As it looks like we now look at Joseph Frederick Suto, who's, well, way off his personal best in the middle sector. I think he might have had traffic on his lap, and like his teammate, he's also in the drop zone, the man who scored points at the first race at Road America last week. And now Joseph Frederick Suto making his way down the pit straight, and across the line will go the Aston Martin driver, and he does not improve. He stays where he is in 19th, and he's still in the drop zone as we speak, as Gomez gets ready to go out for one more flying lap. Sontag will need to get out there because he's way off the pace at the moment. Clearly, the mistake he made has had an effect on his pace at the moment as Gomez now makes his way back out onto the racetrack. He's safely through anyway, I would think, because he is in 8th position. But everybody needs to get out before the 1-minute 6 zone. Otherwise, that's it. That will be their Q1 done with. And the bottom guys will need to get out as quickly as possible. And I fear for the Aston Martins, that is session over for them, really. But, at the moment, Blackwood currently in the drop zone, Ra.
Yeah, Patel just about safe for the time being, but I think he should go out just in case. If to secure his safety, but if no one else in the drop zone comes out, then he's through.
I was talking about Blackwood there, Ra, not
I know,
yourself.
I know,
Blackwood's
I
currently in
know.
the drop zone, Ra.
I know. I
Blackwood
was
is not.
talking about him, but I know
Alright.
you were talking about him, but I was referencing Patel as like just on the cusp. So
Okay,
yeah.
right. So, anyway, Sontag is now out on the racetrack, and we've passed that point. So, unfortunately for Blackwood, Videri, Suto, Sazonov, and DeRosa, because there's no movement at the pit exit, they are out. So, Blackwood, Videri, Suto, Sazonov, and DeRosa are out. Sontag, meanwhile, has given himself one more chance to go through. Patel is also out on the racetrack. I don't know if he got out in time, though, but I guess he's out there just in case Sontag does put him into the drop zone. And so we'll have to wait and see on that one, really, as the Mercedes there of, I think that was Armar Carr, is just getting some mileage in the Mercedes as Gomez is down on his personal best in the first sector now, then as he makes his way up towards the long swooping right-hander on the racetrack as he flicks the car in for the double right-hander. And now into the hairpin now then goes Gomez, and now through this long swooping left-hander. You could literally take your foot off the accelerator there. You don't need to brake. It's basically a lift of acceleration as you go around that part of the track through the right-hander, and now down towards the Magulo corner now. Then flat out you go, and now heading in towards the end of the middle sector now then, and he's down by a 10th in the middle sector on his personal best. Up the hill goes Gomez, 2, 1, and 0, and the checker flag is out. That is the end of the session for everybody, really. That's the end of Q1 as Gomez now then comes across the line in the Toyota, and he doesn't improve. He stays where he is as Sontag is up on his personal best by 1.5 seconds, but he has got a Haas causing him bother, and I think, that's because given how far he is behind DeRosa, that might not be enough to get Sontag through, but we'll see. Felix Sontag, across the line he goes, and he does actually go into 16th. He actually found some time in the last sector, but what about Patel? He doesn't improve, and Patel is out of qualifying as a result, so Sontag has just saved himself by the skin of his teeth there, as now we look at Roke, who's up on his personal best, meanwhile, in the Red Bull, as he now makes his way around the final 2 corners on this racetrack now. Then we go heading his way down the pit straight, and George Roke crosses the line now then, and Roke goes into 5th place with that lap, still behind Evan Byrne. Martins across the line, goes into 2nd. That's a very good effort from the home favourite, 44 thousandths off of Jesus Perrin. Chatfield doesn't improve, but he's through anyway. He stays in 12th position, and that is Q1 done with Sontag getting through by the skin of his teeth. So your top 3 as a result at the end of Q1 is of course Perrinnen, Martins, and Kloss, and your bottom 6, as a reminder, of course, are Rahul Patel, Jafari Blackwood, Andre Videri, Joseph Federic Suto, and I've just realised Yuri has still not changed his first name yet, Andre Sazonov, and Kirishima DeRosa. So they are your bottom 6 as a result of that. So we're just going to take a brief pause whilst we wait for Q2 to get set up. But in the meantime, guys, no, it's not how it's pronounced, it's how it's spelt, Yuri. It's spelt with a Z, not an S. So, that's that really. So we're just going to take a brief pause whilst we wait for Yuri to sort out Q2. But in the meantime, guys, you can let us know your prediction on who you believe will be eliminated in the second part of qualifying. But in the meantime, guys, I'm going to mute myself to prepare the tweet for Twitter. So apologies if I go silent for just a little bit. Okay, I am back, and just got the tweet up on Twitter. So yeah, it was quite an entertaining session in the end there. But obviously, in the end, Sontag just getting through by the skin of his teeth, and Patel just missing out as a result.
Yeah, Sontag just about making it through. Patel, I don't know if he got held up. Maybe he did, but I think the Ripper was in front of him, so maybe it wasn't ideal. Maybe he rejoined right in front of Patel, which kind of ruined Patel's lap. So not ideal, but another 17 for him. Let's see what he can do in the race tomorrow.
And a disappointing qualifying, it must be said, for Kirishima De Rosa, starting in last. He just seemed to really struggle in that McLaren.
Yeah, and knowing how close the field is, just the midfield is compared to, and also with the Aston Martins and the Ferraris, if you struggle, you're going to be at the back.
Yeah, indeed. And, clearly De Rosa getting caught up with that as a result. It's about to get set for Q number 2 here at Interlagos as we're about to get underway. So I might as well ask you, Ra, who do you believe will be eliminated in the second part of qualifying?
I'm going to go with Chatfield, Valdinger, Macho, both Williamses, and a Toyota.
I'm going to say both Williamses. I'm going to say Chatfield will get eliminated. I think Willows will get eliminated in the McLaren. I think Valdinger will get eliminated in the Sauber. And I think I'm going to say a Toyota will get eliminated as well. Which Toyota, I'm not sure. I do believe that one Toyota will actually get through into the final part of qualifying. So, and in fact, as a result, I do think that Mocha will also get through as well in the Lamborghini. So, we're about to get underway for the second part of qualifying now then, as it looks like Williams are going to send one of their cars out there first. Both Williamses, by the skin of their teeth, getting through into the second part of qualifying. It looks like a Haas is actually going through first, because it's going to be Bartosz Kloss in the Haas that's going to be first onto the racetrack now then, as he now makes his way out of the pit lane. So let's read people's predictions then in the stream chat as a result. So James Brickles has said both Williamses, a Sauber, Chatfield, Willows and a Toyota, and Dennis has said Willows, Sontag, Chatfield, Gomez, Lopez and Mocho will be the 6 that will get eliminated. So that's that really, as Kloss now makes his way up through the double right-hander now then, as 4 cars make their way out on the track. Kloss will be hoping there's no traffic by the time he makes his way back around the circuit now then, and it's a very short circuit. We've already seen lap times being around about the 1:06, and even though these cars are a tad bit slower than what last season's cars were, they are definitely still quicker than what the 2021 cars were when we last came here, of course, back in 2021. So we'll have to wait and see what the pole position time is going to look like when we get into Q3, of course. But Kloss now making his way up the hill now then he goes, as he makes his way around the penultimate corner, and now making his way down the straight now then will go Bartosz Kloss in the Haas as he now starts his lap. There are still some cars making their way into the pit lane, but I think Kloss might just about get away with it. We'll just have to wait and see as he rounds the first corner into turn 2 of this Senna S, and then around the flat out turn 3 we will go on this racetrack. And yep, there is going to be no issues for Kloss, so he should have a clean lap as a result, as he makes his way down towards turn 4. 16.750 in the first sector there for Bartosz Kloss, as it's a 17.058 for Anderson, a 16.759 for Martin. So Kloss only a tad bit up on Martins in the first sector there, as Kloss makes his way towards the hairpin. A 17.773 for Roke, so he's actually also slightly down on both Martins and Kloss in the first sector. Of course, can't really read too much into sector 1 because there's only really one major braking zone, and that's turn 1. The rest of it is either medium speed or flat out, as a little bit of a wobble on the head there for Kloss. He makes a tiny error going out of Magulo, and it's going to carry on into Young Cows. He does a 50.088, but that lap is already down the drain for Bartosz Kloss as he makes a mistake through into the Young Cow corner. Let's see what he does anyway as he comes down onto the pit straight. He's in fact going to have a look at a replay of that mistake before we see him cross the line there, and it just really was a continuation of the exit of Magurlo there.
Yeah, it really was. Lost all the momentum on the penultimate corner. Wasn't ideal. Yeah, let's see what he can do. He lost a little bit of time. It's just 1 minute 6.9. That's the time to beat. But I think I expect some of the drivers to beat it. Martins is only 5 milliseconds down on Kloss.
Yep, he is indeed. He's 5 thousandths behind Kloss as a result of that, down in second place. Rote, meanwhile, goes into third. So even though, despite that, Kloss is still quicker than both Martins and Rote, like he was in the first sector. Gomez goes third in front of Rote, so Rote didn't have the best of laps either. Quad goes quickest by 1/10 of a second. Here comes Chris Chatfield, who's now going to come across the line, and he goes into 7th. Lopez now goes to the top by 25 thousandths of a second in the Toyota. Here comes Jesus Perrin now, then, who topped Q1. Is he going to go to the top here? No, he's not. He's 74 thousandths off the man he replaced at Mercedes, Franco Lopez. Here comes Bence Valdinga now then in the Sauber as he now crosses the line and he goes into 7th place. Joseph Willows in the McLaren makes his way down the pit straight and across the line he will go and he goes into 9th place. Here comes Felix Sontag in the Williams and he goes into 5th. Evan Byrne goes quickest by 3/10 of a second. Armar Carr, he goes into 2nd, 1/10 behind Evan Byrne. Laura Chung across the line slots only 9th with that time there, so not the best first lap for Laura Chung. P13 only for Michael Mocho after the first lap, and they are the first laps done with as a result, with Byrne at the top out of Carr, but Lopez, a very good first lap for him in the Toyota to be in P3. But yeah, even though Kloss made a mistake, he's still done good enough to be in 6th. Perinen and Roke not having a good first lap. Roke even so much so, currently in the drop zone as we speak.
Yeah, that is not ideal, seeing George Roke in the drop zone. Maybe the drag in that Red Bull has come to bite him.
Perhaps indeed, and Rote will be hoping he doesn't make a mistake on the second lap, because that's what happened with Evan Byrne last time out in Road America, and it cost him a shot at getting through into Q3 as a result there. But an amazing lap from the reigning champion, Franco Lopez, so far put his Toyota in 3rd position. Whether he stays there, though, we'll have to wait and see. But either or, a brilliant lap from the reigning champion at the moment.
Yeah, brilliant lap from him. Of course, noticing that Kloss and Sontag have the exact same time in 6th and 7th. Gomez and Vardinger also set the exact same time in 10th and 11th.
Indeed, I do, as a result, because it looked like there was quite a lot of scruffy laps on that first lap. I do expect quite a lot of improvements on the second lap, so we'll have to wait and see on that one, really. But at the moment, as mentioned in the drop zone, we have Valdinger, Roke, he's be looking for a better second lap. Mocho, Willows, Anderson, and Chatfield are currently in the drop zone as we speak. At the moment, Sontag could get his Williams through into Q number 3 for the second race in a row if it were to stay like this. But we've still got just over 9.5 minutes to go, so still plenty of time, and still plenty of time for things to change in this remainder of this session, really. But yeah, very interesting first laps, it must be said. And it's not only, I should point out to you, Ro, as well, it's not just Kloss and Sontag that have the same time. Gomez and Valdinger have set the same time. And, well, Gomez, lucky he set the time first, because it meant that he's still in the top 10 at the moment, because, well, if that would have been, if it was towards the end of the session, we would have seen maybe a Lando Norris and Logan Sargent situation like we saw at the beginning of this season, the real life Formula 1 season. So, yeah, but luckily this is early days, things can still change. As Juventus Martins, the other home favourite, is going to go out onto the track first of all, and he's currently in 8th position at the moment, but he did do a very good time in Q1, of course, to go into 2nd place. Didn't really touch on that, but yeah, he showed some pretty good pace in Q1, and he'll be looking to see if he can try and replicate that in Q2.
Yeah, he's done an 8th. Not ideal. It's a good benchmark for him, but let's see if he can improve on his lap time and see where he can go.
Indeed so, as now Martin's just making his way up towards the hairpin now. Then he will go as he flicks the car in through the right-hander as he prepares to start his lap. A few more cars making their way out of the pit lane, as you can see on the mini-map on the top right-hand side of your screen, as Martin's now then making his way around Young Cow now, then making his way up the hill towards the final 2 turns before he starts his second flying lap, looking to see if he can better his time of 1 minute 6.907 at this stage. Maybe go a little bit higher through the order as Martins now starts his lap. We know that the Renault's got some very good straight line speed, as proven last week at Road America, so he'll be hoping he can make use of that in both Sector 1 and 3 on the racetrack. There is a McLaren, I think, coming out onto the racetrack. That would be for Joseph Willows, of course, because De Rosa's already out, and I think Willows could interfere with Martin's lap here because he's just come out in front of the Brazilian, and the Brazilian, in fact, is actually down on his personal best in the first sector by just over 1/10 at that point in time, and that was even without Willows coming out onto the track. But I think maybe if Martins doesn't get held up too much in this middle sector by the McLaren, he could use Willows as a bit of a slipstream into Sector 3 to maybe unleash the power of that Renault engine in the back. So we'll have to wait and see on that one, really, as he now makes his way towards the hairpin, approaching the end of Sector 2 pretty soon now then on this racetrack. He's actually not gaining onto the McLaren, so he's not losing too much being behind Willows, although I do think Willows is actually getting away quite a bit from the Renault, and he's 2 tenths down on his personal best in that middle sector now. Then as he makes his way up the hill towards the final 2 corners now then on the racetrack. Let's see what Johannes Martins can do as he makes his way onto the pit straight, and across the line now then will go the Renault driver as Martins crosses the line, no improvement, and stays in 8th position. Kloss meanwhile is also not up at his personal best, but of course he did make a mistake in the middle sector, so maybe he could gain some time in this last sector. We shall wait and see. Bartosz Kloss looked like it was a little bit more tidier for him. He's going to cross the line, and he doesn't improve by 11 thousandths of a second. That's a little bit surprising. Bence Valdinga, no improvement for him. Julius Anderson improves. He goes up into 10th, pushes this man into the drop zone, but Gomez is up on his personal best. Can he get himself back into the top 10? No, he can't. He improves, but he stays in 11th position. Roman Quagg is up on his personal best, currently in 4th place. He crosses the line, and he goes up into 3rd, gets in front of Franco Lopez. Jesus Perinen, across the line he goes, and he goes up into 2nd. He finds some time in the last sector. Sontag doesn't improve. He stays in 7th place. Did he make a mistake because he's 2 seconds off the pace and just having a look? No, it was because he got overtook there by Jesus Perinen, and that's despite the fact but Perinen actually improved on his time. He actually found some time in the last sector to find himself 99 thousandths behind Evan Byrne. George Rope, Byrne's teammate, crosses the line, and he gets out of the drop zone and goes to the top and sets a 1:06.0. Chung goes into 2nd place in the Haas now. Then Anderson is now back into the drop zone. As a result, Armar Carr crosses the line and goes quickest by 61 thousandths of a second. Does a 1:06.007. Here comes Franco Lopez across the line. No improvement. He stays in 7th place. Joseph Willows up on his personal best, currently in the drop zone at the moment, and he goes up into 8th, pushes Martins now into the drop zone. He pushes the home favourite into the drop zone at the moment. Byrne up on his personal best. Can he get himself back to the top of the timing screen? Byrne now then across the line he goes, and he doesn't, but he does improve and stays in 4th position. Michael Mocho up on his personal best, currently in the drop zone, and he improves but only goes up into 14th position. So it might end up being another disappointing qualifying session for Lamborghini at the moment, and they are the second runs done with Carr now at the top by 61 thousandths ahead of George Roke. But yeah, very interesting indeed, really. Martin's the home favourite, currently in the drop zone, and he needs to get out there if he wants to get himself into Q3.
Yeah, only by 5 milliseconds to Sontag, and even Kloss and Sontag had the exact same lap time.
Yeah, indeed, and surprisingly, Kloss, of course, despite the fact that he had that lock-up on his first final lap, he still wasn't able to improve in the second lap, despite having a tidier run going through into Young Cow there. So, maybe there was something else in the lap that prevented him from improving, because he was 11 thousandths off his personal best when he crossed the line, and he's currently down in 9th position at the moment. So far in the drop zone then, with just under 5 minutes to go, we have Martins, Anderson, Gomez, so both Brazilians currently in the drop zone at the moment. Mocho, Valdinga and Chatfield are currently in the bottom 6 as we speak at this stage now. Then it looks like they may get one more flying lap before the end of the session, as we have just over 4 minutes to go here in Q2, as the Toyota mechanics are about to wheel Lopez back into the garage, who's so far in the top 10 and could get himself through into Q3. Already doing a lot better than what he did at Road America, of course, where he qualified down in 20th, of course, thanks to a bit of a blunder that happened in the pit lane, of course, during Q1. And interestingly enough, Chatfield over 1 second behind Bence Valdinga at the moment. So far, he's looking a little bit off the pace in the Ferrari as Martins comes back out on the track. But yeah, Chatfield looking a little bit off in Q2.
Yeah, that's a bit surprising. I don't know what's happened, and maybe he didn't sprint so much for traffic. Could be that. And let's see if he can find an improvement. I don't know if he'll be ahead of Valdinga, but I pretty much doubt it. But yeah, we'll see. But it looks like it's going to be a disappointing qualifying for Ferrari.
Yeah, indeed. And, well, you obviously have one more flying lap, I think. I think all 16 cars will get at least one more flying lap, because there's still just over 3 minutes left in the session. Obviously, they need to get out before the 1:06 zone to have any chance of doing one more flying lap. But this will be the final flying lap for everyone, of course, in Q2. So really, for Martins, this is his last chance to try and get the Renault through into Q3, really, as he now makes his way up the hill now then towards the final 2 corners this racetrack now then, as Martins is about to start his final flying lap of Q2 now then, as he makes his way down the pit straight and across the line he will go, and he starts his lap now, then just trying to have a look to see if there's any traffic, and I think he might be able to get away with it. There's a big gap in terms of the traffic with the pit exit, so Martins will get a clean lap this time by and won't get held up by the McLaren of Joseph Willows like he did on the previous lap, as Martins now makes his way down towards the end of the first sector. Is he up on his personal best? The answer to that is no. He's still down on his personal best by a 10th in that first sector, so he needs to find something in the last 2 sectors. Otherwise, this could be Martin's qualifying session over here, because he's currently down in 11th position as Martins now makes his way around the double right-hander, heading his way in towards the hairpin he goes, and now around the long swooping left-hander will go the Renault driver as he makes his way towards the hairpin on the racetrack. Now then he goes as he flicks the car in through the hairpin. Now down towards the Magulo corner, flat out through this left-hander. Let's see if he can find any time in this middle sector now. Then the answer to that is no. He's still down his personal best, although he did find some time in the last sector, so maybe he could find something in this last sector. He needs to, because otherwise he's going to be eliminated here in qualifying. Martins comes onto the pit straight. Can he do enough to get his Renault through into Q3? Johannes Martins across the line he will go, and he doesn't improve, so Martins is out of qualifying. So the home favourite, Johannes Martins, has been eliminated. Kloss was up on his personal best, but he's been held up by the Mercedes of Amar Kar there. So Kloss will be hoping he's done enough to get through into Q3, because at the moment he's down in 9th and on the same time as Felix Sonntag. So here comes Kloss. He crosses the line now then, and he only just doesn't improve. He stays in 9th position. Roman Quarg now then making his way onto the pit straight. He's now going to come across the line in the Renault, and he does not improve. Stays in 7th. Chung just starts her lap. Bence Valdinger being overtaken by the Red Bull of Burnage just starting lap. Valdinger doesn't improve and he's out. He stays in 15th. Anderson doesn't improve. He's out. He stays in 13th. Chatfield out. He stays in 16th but improves even the late. Perinen goes up into 2nd place. Gabriel Gomez across the line he will go. He doesn't improve and he is out. So both the Brazilians are out of qualifying at this point. 11th and 13th for the 2 Brazilian drivers of Martins and Gomez. Here comes Sonntag, who's down on his personal best at the moment. He's currently in the top 10 at the moment, is the Williams driver, as Sonntag now comes around the Young Cow corner. Up the hill he goes now then, and he's still down on his personal best, so he'll be hoping he's done enough to get through. His teammate hasn't. He's out of qualifying. He stayed in 12th position after his run now. Then as here comes Felix Sonntag. Across the line he will go, and he does not improve. He stays in 10th. Here comes George Roke, who's up on his personal best, currently in 3rd place. Can he go to the top of the timing sheets? He definitely can, but only by 4,000 of a second, a 1 minute 6.003. Here comes Amar Kar. He just took the place off. He comes down the pit straight now then, and he doesn't improve. He stays in 2nd place. Joseph Willows now then, who's currently in 8th. He crosses the line and doesn't improve. He stays in 8th. Laura Chung across the line she will go, and she stays in 4th. No improvement. Evan Byrne across the line he goes in the Red Bull, and he doesn't improve either. Franco Lopez, he's going to cross the line and he stays in 7th position. What about Michael Mocho? He's down on his personal best. He's the only man I think that could eliminate Sonntag here. Michael Mocho, as the checker flag comes out, crosses the line, he doesn't improve, so Mocho is out. So another disappointing qualifying for Lamborghini as a whole, and Sonntag just gets through into Q3 as a result. So your top 3 being Roke, Carr, and in 3rd place, of course, being there, let me just double check that, was Jesus Perinen in the end. And your bottom 6, as a result, are Johannes Martins, Julius Anderson, Gabriel Gomez, Michael Mocho, Bence Valdinger, and Chris Chatfield. So disappointment for the 2 Brazilian drivers. The home fans will not be happy with that one, that is for sure. Right, we're just going to take a brief pause whilst Yuri gets prepared for Q3. But in the meantime, guys, you can let us know your prediction on who you believe will take pole position for tomorrow's Brazilian Grand Prix. But in the meantime, I'm going to mute myself to prepare the tweet for Twitter. So apologies if I go silent for just a little bit. Okay, I'm back. The tweet is now up on Twitter, and so very interesting in the end. Johannes Martins getting eliminated in the second part of qualifying there, and well, he will definitely want to forget about this qualifying session and move on to the race here.
Yeah, of course, he had great pace in Road America, and let's see what he could do in the summer race at Brazil. So, yeah, let's see what he can do. Maybe he could get a podium. We'll see what the race will pan out for him.
Yeah, indeed, and he'll need to have the same sort of drive that he had in Road America, of course, because don't forget he started in 10th at Road America and ended up getting a podium, so maybe he could have the same sort of race in Brazil this week. We'll just have to wait and see, really. And as you said earlier on, I think during the practice session, it could really come down to who's got the strategy right, because, of course, we are using the medium tyres here at Sao Paulo, so it will be interesting to see what ends up being the best, whether it be the one stop or the two stop here at Interlagos. But another good session for Felix Sontag to get through into Q3, and it's the second race in a row he's made it through into the third part of qualifying. But yet again, just like what we saw in Q1, he only got through by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, leaving it to the last. Leaving it to the last for him for Sontag. Let's see what he can do in Q3. There's some exciting times for him going through during the season. Hopefully, he can get his first points of the season.
Yep, Q3 is about to get underway, so I might as well ask you, Ra, who do you believe will get pole position for tomorrow's Brazilian Grand Prix?
Ooh, I'm gonna say George Roque.
Hey, I'm going to go for Jesus Perinin. I think Perinin can get his first pole as a Mercedes driver here today. But you never know. Haas could actually interfere with all this. We'll have to wait to see. Maybe they're holding something back. Who knows? As we're about to get underway for the final part of qualifying, as we look down at Franco Lopez's garage, of course, ensuring that Toyota get through into Q3 for the second race in a row, but it's the first time this season that he's made it into Q3 for Toyota himself, and he'll definitely be happy with that one, that is for sure, as we now wait for the session for the first car to get out onto the track. Toyota not coming out of the garage just yet. It looks like there might be a car coming out. It's Roman Quarg, Johannes Martin's teammate, that's going out onto the track first of all, and we'll have to wait and see what he does, as obviously he's hoping to bounce back after what was a very frustrating United States Grand Prix for Roman Quarg. And not the best of weekends for the Frenchman, and he'll look to bounce back here at Interlagos. So let's just read everybody's predictions then. In the stream chat, James Brickles has said Jesus Perinin will get pole position. Dennis has said Perinin will get pole. Asante Moro has said George Roque will get pole. And Flo has said Amar Carr will get pole position. So two are saying Jesus, one for Roque and one for Carr in this session. So we shall wait and see who gets the pole position here for the Brazilian Grand Prix. As now Roman Quarg making his way through the flat-out Magulo corner now then, before making his way towards Young Cow, as there's still some cars that need to come out onto the racetrack, as you can see on the top left of your screen. Still 3 more cars needing to make their way out on track, as Roman Quarg now then comes down the pit straight, and Roman Quarg is about to start his next flying lap as he comes onto the pit straight, and Quarg starts his lap around about now then, as he now makes his way down towards the first corner now then on the racetrack, through into turn 1 and then into turns 2 and 3 now then we will go on the racetrack. I did see a car on the pit exit, but I think it's a little bit far away for Quarg to worry about, so Quarg will not get any traffic interference on his first flying lap now then, as he makes his way down towards turn 4. He does a 16.803 in the first sector. Now, not exactly the fastest we've seen through into sector 1, as he now makes his way up the hill towards the long sweeping right-hander. A 16.799 for Willows, so Willows is even up on Quarg in the first sector. A 16.870 for Byrne in the first sector. In fact, Willow's actually going quicker than Byrne in the first sector, but of course can't read too much into sector 1 because there's only really one major braking zone. As I think Quarg had a bit of oversteer coming out of the left-hander there, so clearly on the ragged edge with that Renault there, as he now makes his way through the flat-out Magulo corner before making his way towards Young Cow, as he does a 50.663 in that middle sector. Up the hill then goes the Frenchman, as he now makes his way around the final 2 corners and onto the pit straight now. Then will come Roman Quarg in the Renault go now then, with just over 12 minutes to go. He crosses the line now then. Roman Quagg across the line. The benchmark time is a 1 minute 7.102. Not exactly the best time that we've seen around here. Joseph Willows, who's still up on Quagg at the moment, comes on to the pit straight, and the McLaren driver now then comes across the line and goes quickest by 0.2 of a second. As Byrne goes into second, he's also down on Joseph Willows. So that's a bit of a surprise to see a Red Bull down on the McLaren at the moment. The BMW power in the back of that McLaren clearly working well for Joseph Willows, and now Felix Sonntag across the line to go into 4th position. Here comes Bartosz Klos in the Haas now, then he's up on Willows as he now crosses the line and goes quickest by 0.5 of a second. Jesus Perinen down the pit straight, he goes across the line, he will go, and he goes quickest by 0.2 of a second. Franco Lopez in the Toyota showed some decent pace in Q2. He crosses the line and goes into 4th with that time, just slots behind Joseph Willows. Here comes Laura Chung in the Haas, 4 tenths down on Perinen in that middle sector. The United States Grand Prix winner making her way towards the pit straight now then, and Laura Chung is about to make her way across the line now then. Where's she going to place herself? A teammate is currently up in second, and she goes into 3rd, slots behind a teammate. It's 4 tenths off Klos. P3 for Roke, he goes behind Bartosz Klos there. Here comes Amar Carr. What can he do about his teammate? He crosses the line. It's only good enough for 8th on that occasion. So Byrne and Carr really struggling on that first flying lap there, as so far Perinen at the top of the timing sheets by 0.2 of a second. But yeah, Byrne and Carr looking a little bit off on their first lap. Even Roman Quagg as well in the Renault.
Yeah, they look a bit off, Brendan Carr. Same for Quagg as well. So, it's not ideal for them.
Yeah, indeed, and Willow's currently P5 at the moment in the McLaren, P6 for Franco Lopez, so both of those guys doing particularly well, but whether they will stay there for the rest of the session, we'll have to wait and see. Chung currently in 4th, but 4th temps off of Bartosz Klos. At the moment, Klos has got a little bit more pace than what Chung has at the moment in this session.
Yeah, let's see what Chen can do in the second runs. Maybe she can find more time, but yeah, not an ideal gap to teammates. But yeah, it could all change going through the second runs and maybe in the third and final runs.
We shall wait and see, of course, as Sonntag gets wheeled back into the garage there for Williams, as Franco Lopez is now going to be wheeled back into the garage for Toyota. And we will be waiting for the next laps to happen now then, as we are currently just under 10 minutes to go in this session. So currently the top 10 is Perinen, Klos, Roke, Chung, Willows, Lopez, Byrne, Carr, Quagg and Sonntag at this stage. Sonntag 1.4 seconds off and 4 tenths off of both Roman Quagg and Amar Carr at this stage. Carr and Byrne and even Quagg needing to look for a better second lap if they want to get a little bit more higher onto the grid, as Joseph Willows is going to go out onto the track first of all this time by. Currently in 5th place at the moment is the McLaren driver. A brilliant race at the United States Grand Prix for Willows, and it's so far looking to show some very good pace at the moment in this qualifying session.
Yeah, he's looking quite impressive in that McLaren, and yeah, he's doing well, and yeah, hopefully he could keep this up. Maybe we could see a surprising podium for Joseph Willows.
I think that might be a bit of a stretch, because I think there are quicker cars around him, but maybe another chance at points that could be on the cards for the McLaren driver. But we shall wait and see how the rest of the week progresses here at Brazil. Of course, it's the third day in the row that you've seen the Interlagos circuit, because, of course, on Sunday, of course, we had the first Formula E race of the season, a very exciting opening race where Rosetta Martinez took the victory after overtaking Zachary Fitzwater on the final lap of the race. And then, obviously, yesterday we had the Formula 2 qualifying session, which saw Dominic DeCelli, the ex-top class driver from the final 4 races, taking the first pole of the season in Tony Grand Prix' first ever race, of course. So a bit of history being made there in Formula 2. But anyway, concentrating our attention to the top class who are here today, and of course we'll have the Formula 2 race later on at 7 p.m. as Willows starts his second flying lap as he makes his way in towards the first three corners on the racetrack through into turn 2, and then around turn 3 now then we will go on this racetrack now then, as Joseph Willows now then is going to get a clear track. Nobody's going to block his way. Let's see if he goes up on his personal best in sector 1. The answer to that is no. He's 1/10 down on his personal best in the first sector as he now rounds turn 5 on the racetrack now then. Of course, Willows has won here in the past in 2017, a season which a lot of people argue that Willows should have probably have won that championship instead of Will Nella, of course. Not that anyone was disappointed that Nella won that championship, because a lot of people were hoping that Nella would win a championship, but when you look at the performance as a whole, I think a lot of people at the same time say that Willows probably should have won that championship instead. But it is what it is. It is racing at the end of the day. You can only say what ifs and buts, but and that's pretty much that really. It's the same with Evan Byrne back in 2011. Willows 3 tenths down on his personal best in that middle sector. As he now makes his way up the hill, just over a second down on Hayes' Peridden at the moment, as now Willows makes his way down the pit straight now then, and let's see if he can find any time. I doubt it, but let's see. Willows across the line, and he doesn't improve. He stays in 5th as both Roque and Lopez there about to start a lap. Burned down on his personal best. He was actually up on his personal best in Sector 1, but lost time in the middle sector. So at the moment, Burn's clearly struggling at this stage. He crosses the line, and he actually finds some time, but only good enough to go up into 6th position. He's still quite a way off compared to the likes of Peridden, Kloss, and Roque at this stage. Here comes Roman Quagga, who's up on his personal best, currently in 9th position. Can he push Burn even further down? Quagga across the line, and he goes up into 5th, so pushes Burn down into 7th once again. Here comes Barch's Kloss, who's down on his personal best in the middle sector, currently on the front row at the moment with Hayes' Peridden, as he now makes his way up the hill towards the final 2 turns on this racetrack now then, as they now make their way onto the pit straight, and Barch's Kloss across the line. He will go now then, as in front the Mercedes has just started their lap as Kloss does not improve. That was Armar Car, because we're now looking at Peridden, who's down on his personal best at the moment in that middle sector. As Peridden now making his way down the pit straight, and across the line goes the Spaniard now then, and he does not improve. Felix Sontag down on his personal best, 1.4 seconds off of Peridden, but he finds some time in the last sector, but he's still 1.4 seconds off of Peridden at this stage now then, and still in 10th position. George Roque down the pit straight across the line. He goes now then, and he stays in 3rd position. Franco Lopez up on his personal best, but loses time in the last sector and remains in 8th position. Chung down on her personal best, meanwhile, as she's still roughly around 4 tenths off her teammate Barch's Kloss. She now makes her way towards the end of the middle sector now then. Let's see what the middle sector has in store, and she actually finds some time because she's 1 tenth up on her personal best, but she's still 3 tenths down on Peridden in that middle sector. So Laura Chung now then, the early championship leader, making her way down the pit straight now then, and Laura Chung is about to cross the line now then in the hash. She crosses the line now then, and she goes into 3rd position, gets in front of George Roque. Carr, meanwhile, up on his personal best. What can he do? Armar Carr across the line. It's only good enough for 7th. That's a bit of a surprise. Carr and Byrne clearly struggling at the moment in this session, and I think they are the second runs done with Peridden still at the top, but the Haas is looking pretty impressive in 2nd and 3rd, and Byrne and Carr still struggling at the moment, down in 7th and 8th.
Yeah, that is not ideal for Colin Byrne. And yeah, Byrne did struggle, did cost himself a chance of making it to Q3 last race, and now he's struggling in Q3 this qualifying session. That is not ideal. And of course, he did struggle in the race, Byrne, and of course, I'm fortunate to get points, but yeah, that is not ideal for him. Struggling like this, he might not get points. Even in the race, but yeah, in qualifying that is not ideal for Bird.
Yeah, indeed, we've still got one more lap to go though, so maybe Carr and Byrne can find something in this final flying lap, but at the moment it's not looking good for a good grid position at the moment for both Carr and Byrne at this stage of qualifying, as it looks like Peridden and Roque are just way ahead of them at the moment, although Roque is still 5 tenths off of Peridden. But as mentioned earlier, the Haas is currently 2nd and 3rd, showing some very good pace at the moment.
Yeah, very good pace for Haas. They could be real contenders here, and as we said, they could be real contenders for the entire season.
Indeed so, as we see Carr now just making his way back into the pit lane now, as we wait for the next car to make their way on track, and it will once again be Joseph Willows who will be the first to start, which I believe will be their final flying laps of this qualifying session, as Willows now just making his way out onto the racetrack now then, as he now makes his way out of the pit exit, just going around the long swooping left-hander now then. He will go on this racetrack, and Willows now then out on the racetrack he goes in the McLaren now then, as he just makes his way towards turns 4 and 5 now then on the racetrack, flicking the car in through turn 5 before making his way up towards the double right-hander on this racetrack, flicking the car in through the right-hander as more cars are they coming out on track? I think they are, because Quag is out there, I think. Also is Peridden, as is Evan Byrne. Byrne determined to try and get higher than 8th place at the moment. Both he and Carr currently struggling in this qualifying session. As Willows now then just goes down through the flat out Mugulo corner now then, as he'll now make his way towards Young Cow, flicking the car in through that left-hander now then, up the hill he goes, as he now makes his way towards the final 2 corners on this racetrack now then, as Willows starts his next flying lap now then, heading down the pit straight, and Willows is about to start his lap now then, as he's just going to go past that bit of traffic that's just towards the end of the pit exit, so Willows should be able to get a clean lap as a result. Can he find any more time, possibly get a little bit higher than 6th position? We'll have to wait and see, as Willows now makes his way down this back straight before approaching the end of the first sector now. Then he's still down on his personal best in Sector 1 by 2/10 of a second, so way off his personal best in Sector 1 that time by now. Then as he now makes his way up the hill towards the long swooping right-hander. Chung's still the only one in the pit lane right now, but I think she will get out there, so all 10 cars will get one more flying lap before this qualifying session comes to a close, as I'm trying to have a look on the mini-map to see whereabouts she is. I think she's just come out of the garage now then, so she should be out there just in the nick of time, as now Willow's just coming around the right-hander before approaching the flat-out Magulo corner, and now heading his way in towards the end of the second sector, 1.7 seconds off and over a second off his personal best in the middle sector. Not been the best of laps here for Joseph Wells. He gets a little bit of a flick going up the hill there, so clearly struggling a little bit, as he may have caught a little bit of a bump going up the hill there at that point in time. But Joseph Willows now making his way onto the pit straight, across the line he will go, and he does not improve and stays in 6th position. Evan Burney's down on his personal best still, as he now comes across the line, and he does not improve, so a disappointing qualifying. Quag goes up to 3rd, meanwhile, in the Renault. That's a good effort for Roman Quag, as Burney's still in 8th after his lap. Perrinan crosses the line, does not improve, stays on 1 minute 6.0. Kloss is not up on his personal best by 6/10 of a second now then. So Bartosz Kloss now then currently on the front row. Can he stay on the front row for the race? We'll have to wait and see, as he now comes down the pit straight. Here comes Bartosz Kloss now then in the Haas, as he makes his way across the line, and he does not improve. Chung about to start her lap now then, as we now look at Franco Lopez, who's down on his personal best in that middle sector there, and it looks like he's probably going to stay in 9th unless Sontok can find a big improvement to get in front of him on the grid. We'll have to wait and see, but Lopez now then across the line, no improvement, he stays in 9th. George Roke not on an improvement either. He crosses the line and he stays in 5th position, so not the best qualifying for Red Bull. 5th and 8th as a result. Meanwhile, Sontag up on his personal best. Can he get himself in front of Franco Lopez? Across the line, he can't, but he does improve, and he's still just over a second behind Hazel Perrinan. Carr, meanwhile, is actually up on Perrinan, I think, in the middle sector, so Carr's looking pretty quick here. Here comes Armar Carr. Can he beat his teammate to the top across the line? No, he can't. He only goes into 6th. It looked like it was purple there compared to Perrinan, but he lost quite a lot of time. It's a mistake there from Chung coming up the hill, and that's her lap down in the drain as a result of that. She was already down on her personal best in the first sector, but that's just going to add to it even more as a result of that, as Chung now they're making her way around the right-hander. She'll now make her way down towards the flat-out Magulo corner now then on this racetrack. The checker flag is now out, signifying the end of the session now then. Up through the Young Cow corner we go, making her way up the hill now then through the final 2 corners on this racetrack now then we go, as Chung now then comes down the pit straight and across the line now then will go the Haas driver. Chung across the line, she will go, and she doesn't improve thanks to that mistake, and I think that is everyone done. So it does mean that Jesus Perrinan will take pole position for tomorrow's Brazilian Grand Prix, his first pole as a Mercedes driver, as me and Ra are going to mute ourselves to allow you to see how Perrinan got pole position. And that is how Jesus Perinin took pole position for tomorrow's Brazilian Grand Prix. A very good lap indeed from the Spaniard. And can he actually put the disappointment of Road America behind him and maybe take his first victory of the season? Mercedes do need to get some points off the board after what was a disastrous Road America outing. But here is the top 10 then for tomorrow's race. It is Jesus Perinin who takes his first pole as a Mercedes driver with Barcic class. An amazing effort for him to get his first ever front row in the top class. Roman Quagg, an impressive third for him in the Renault, followed by Laura Chung in fourth, so second and fourth for the two Haas drivers. George Roque, a disappointing fifth in the Red Bull, a disappointing qualifying session overall for Red Bull, with Armar Carr all the way down in sixth. Joseph Willows, a very good seventh in the McLaren, with Evan Byrne, a disappointing eighth in the Red Bull. Franco Lopez, a very impressive ninth in the Toyota, with Felix Sontag completing the top 10 for Williams, 1.1 seconds off of Jesus Perinin. But yeah, quite a very good qualifying session indeed, Ra.
Yeah, it really was. And let's see what happens in the race, and we'll be looking for an exciting one.
Yep, indeed. Well, that has been it then from the practice and qualifying session here for the Brazilian Grand Prix. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. A very enjoyable session all around here for qualifying and, of course, for practice as well. And hopefully we'll be in for a very exciting race and hopefully just as good as what Road America had last week. Of course, we're not done with live streams just yet because coming up at 7 p.m. BST, so specifically in 1 hour and 23 minutes time, we will have the Formula 2 race here over at Interlagos, which sees Dominic De Celli in the Tony Grand Prix car on pole position. Whether he can get the victory or not, we will have to wait and see. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. So thank you all for watching. I'm your JW97. He's been Ra, and we will see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. BST for the 71 lap Brazilian Grand Prix. Till then, take care.
Goodbye.